like I don't have financial education. My parents weren't good. The only reason I was able to manage my money is because how terrible my parents were at managing their money. So I was able to kind of learn what not to do.
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of Flip That Switch. I'm your boy B to the Sis Naive, and we back with another episode. And today we got a really good one for y'all. We're going to be talking about the hustle grind mentality. And this is a topic that I've really been wanting to talk about because a lot of people are in a space right now where they're trying to figure things out. And so I just want to kind of talk a little bit to y'all today about the hustler grind mentality, why it's important, why you should keep going and staying consistent, even when you're in the trenches, even when things are low, even when you're at a point where it's like, I don't want to do this anymore. Or, you start maybe getting for lack of a better term, a lazy mentality. And so I want to talk about that. But before I do that, I wanted to bring on the perfect person to talk with about that, because this guy that is on the screen with us is the definition, the epitome of someone who is hustling, who is grinding, who has multiple things going on, and they've been doing it for a long time. And this guy that's about to introduce himself, he's been an inspiration to me just because of his consistency. No matter when things are bad or high, he just continues to be in the mindset of, I'm going to persevere through this and I'm going to do what I got to do, because at the end of the day, I got to feed my family and I got to get out here and get it. So with that being said, I'd like to introduce my boy Erron to the podcast. Welcome to the show, bro.
Hey, what's good, man? First, let me show you your flowers. I really respect and appreciate what you got going on here. Making sure that people will get into that transitionary mindset to revolutionize their life, to change the game for themselves and their families. And, that was probably the best intro I've ever heard about myself. So I appreciate you. Hats off. You dig?
Sure.
But my name's Erron, last name Vonner. And I'm not a man of many trades, but I am a man of perseverance, consistency, and hustle.
Yeah.
My goal, my objective in life is to overcome any and every obstacle that I'm thwarted with in order to achieve a life of freedom. It's just that simple.
Bro, that's simple,
But
dog.
I'm glad
That's
to
simple.
be here, man. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to your peoples. And this topic I'm very passionate about, so it's going to be a good one, I promise you. You might get
And
a
see,
little
that's
too hyped. Might get a little too hyped, but I know you're going to be able to receive it well.
yeah, for sure. And that's exactly why I wanted you on this episode, because you're the perfect person to really just talk to us about what this life is like, because this ain't for the weak, man. Like, having a desire and being motivated to go out there, like you said, to just have freedom and to just be able to feed your family and stuff like that. This is not for the weak. And, some people don't understand what this life is like. Some people, they go to their 9 to 5, they come home and go to sleep. And that's just what it is. And I'm not knocking people who have 9 to 5s, because you could still grind in a 9 to 5. You could still climb up the corporate ladder. You could still get to the top. But if your mentality is that, then cool. But if your mentality is to get out here and get to the bag, be an entrepreneur, have businesses, have multiple streams, multiple revenues, you really have to have the mentality and desire to do that. So that's why you're all here in this episode with me, so we can kind of just dive into that, bro.
Yeah. Or just, what I'm saying? We didn't got to make it that complex too, or just to better yourself overall, right? So your 9 to 5 is not necessarily there to make you a better person, right?
Right.
Even your business is not necessarily there to make you a better person. Even that hobby might not necessarily be there to make you a better person, but it's all a mindset. You know what I mean? Like, I remember when I first, like, my mindset first shifted, because I come from a background where, like, I don't have financial education. My parents weren't good. The only reason I was able to manage my money is because how terrible my parents were at managing their money. So I was able to kind of learn what not to do, right? But I wasn't able to, like, understand what specifically to do. And I just remember going to my 9 to 5 about 8 years ago, and like it got to, I appreciated the job. Right, it was my way in back in the when I was 20, and it offered me options. Right, however, it became a toxic environment for me, not just because of, oh, I got to go to work or I got to clock, hit a clock. But it was just really the environment was toxic. Like I didn't enjoy it. I
Yeah.
was uncomfortable being around certain people at work, and not as a test to me, just more so just because how the company was structured and everything. And it's crazy too because this topic specifically, a lot of people don't realize or have this particular, like, that flip that switch or that shift until there's two things that really come from it. And it's an extreme case of pain or an extreme case of joy, right? So
Yeah.
my particular situation was very like a painful situation emotionally. I developed anxiety dealing with, these people, and I'm like helping people, but I don't want to be here to help them.
Right.
And my mentality was kind of moving and pressing against my character, so much so that it caused me to have to start evaluating other opportunities or other avenues or lanes to really get into. There was a guy at my job, and he put me on to, like, thinking in that mentality, right? And there was this book I read called Rich Dad Poor Dad. Everybody's read the book at this point, but it was a mind shift change for how I viewed my finances. I
Okay.
was already kind of managing them, but this took me a whole nother level as far as now I know what an asset is. I didn't know what an asset was before. I know what a
Yeah.
liability really is. I know I can put a name to these things. I knew of
Right.
them, but I didn't know what they were. And
Right.
it really shifted my mentality into, like, oh man, I got to save up to go to Vegas to get away from this job. To now I got to save up to get a asset to get away from this job. So it was a crazy shift for me at that time too. So um, yeah, I really focus on what's in my control, or the things that I can control, or the because you can't control everything from your environment. And when people have to have that mentality or shift to that mentality, it drives their success or their failure. Whether they want to focus on something or whether they shift their mind to take them there. And you're a perfect example of that, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like a black man in his 30s doing well. You have a 9 to 5. You have a family enterprise. You know what I mean? Like you're kind of like the embodiment of what it means. Like you don't just hit the clock and clock out and then that's the day. Now you're going home to the family, a little ocean. You know what I'm saying? You're expanding. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
From like what it was before to now, it's an enterprise, right? So
Yeah.
I also want to show you those type of respects as well because I get a lot of motivation and encouragement from your story as well.
Man, I appreciate that. The thing is, I have really, like you, shifted my mindset because, you know, coming out of college and stuff like that, for me, it was like, I had a certain career path that I was trying to go down. Actually, what's crazy is like I always wanted to be an investment banker. Um, and I had that dream in my mindset. And I'm like, man, here it is. I'm trying to be an investment banker, but I don't want to go to school. I don't want
Hey,
to,
shoot it straight. School is not for everybody. I didn't enjoy school whatsoever.
no.
Whatsoever. The only reason I was in school was for football.
Yeah, yeah. But I'm like, okay, do I really want to put in the work? Do I really want to go out here and get a bachelor's degree and a master's degree and do all this and all that just to get into this field? And then the answer to that was no. So I just totally gave up on that. And I was working 9 to 5s. Like I was working 9 to 5s for the longest. And then, me and Destiny started to sit back and be like, these 9 to 5s are cool, but we need to do something else with our lives. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't like we was just out here broke or anything. I mean, we bills and stuff like that. But we had to understand and realize that, like, no, we need to get out here and grind and get to the bag because the opportunities are out here. And so that's why we got into the social media space. And what I've learned by that is that I literally had to get my mindset out of I'm not going to work the 9 to 5. I'm not going to, do this. This is not a lifetime thing for me. You know, there's other
Exactly.
opportunities in getting out here and really just becoming an entrepreneur. And I didn't even have the entrepreneur mindset. Like for me, it was like,
Yeah.
nah, I'm not trying to own my own business. It looks like it's too much. I talk to people who own their businesses. I get horror stories and all that. But I'm
Mhm.
like, nah, I'm gonna go out here. We're gonna go out here and get it and do it. And
Yeah.
so, like you, I had to shift my mind to be like, I'm gonna go out here and we gonna get this. We came across social media, we grinded on it, and it's still a grind. The grind doesn't stop just because we've been in this game 4 or 5 years. Like the grind continues every single day. You got to wake up to be like, okay, how can I get to it?
A lot of people think that, outside looking in, for example, that you guys are just social media like stars or social media famous. You don't have to do anything and do much, but like that requires a
Yeah.
lot of work, a lot of dedication, a lot of commitment, a lot of time,
Yes. Yes.
a lot of reshoots. You know what I mean? It's not an easy thing. It's something that you have to and working a 9 to 5. You have something has to click. You know what I'm saying? That, like you said, the switch has to flip to where it's like, okay, I, I'm off work. Let's get to this. You know what I mean? And it doesn't have to be painful. It could be something enjoyable. It could be something that you guys want to experience and things like that. And so a lot of people attest hustle and grind and entrepreneur with pain, suffering, with long
Yeah.
hours, long days, and it sometimes it associates with that, but it becomes almost synonymous. So much so that everybody online is saying, "Wake up at 4 in the morning, do this at 4:15, do this at 5," and really though it's just sensationalized.
No,
That
sure.
it's sensationalized, and the biggest thing that I think that comes, or the toughest part about it, is the mental aspect. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like if you push, like it's mentally something that you have to be prepared to do, or mentally something that you have to convince yourself until you become comfortable doing it. That's one thing
Yeah.
I found out when it came to, like, the beginning of what I wanted to do. I thought, hey, I want to get into real estate. Let's do it, right? And then I'm getting into real estate. I'm like, oh, this is tough. Like, this is stressful. This is painful. This is not like, bro, people lying to you. This, then, like, people scamming you.
Yeah.
And mentally, I had to be. If I'll put it this way, mentally, if I wasn't established and emotionally mature and developed, it would have been probably one of the things I got in and got out. But I
For
had
sure.
football backing me up with the mentality, fitness training, and all that stuff. So to me, it was just, oh, it's just another day. Let's go. It is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, just push through it, that type of thing. But it all starts, you know what I'm saying, up top.
It's the
And
mind.
once you start getting those reps mentally, or getting yourself around the right group that can help you, to pick you up when you're not always feeling the best, or you have that accountability partner or some accountability circle that you rock with, it changes the game. Something crazy.
It does, bro. It does,
Something
dude.
crazy.
Let me ask you something, bro. So, you mentioned that, you started to get into the game and you realized that this game isn't for the weak. You realize the good and the bad, the ups and downs. You realize what that is, right? And so, bro, talk to me a little bit about, like, when you were in the trenches, right? Because there's levels to this, right? There's like I said,
Mhm.
there's the good, there's the bad, and there's the ugly. And when things are going good, obviously, yeah, it's good. Like, you good, you love it. It's the best thing in the world. It's the best thing since sliced bread. You know what I mean? But when you get into those moments where you are in the trenches, right?
Mhm.
How do you persevere through that? Because a lot of people, when they get into the trenches, they sometimes they don't have the mental to keep going, and so they just give up, right? They're done with it. It's one of those things where it's like, okay, you know what, I don't have the energy to deal with the bad, so I'm just gonna bow out gracefully. Or maybe they're grinding and hustling and they're not seeing rapid results, right?
Yep. Yep.
They have a mentality of, I want overnight success with this.
Yeah.
So I see other people out here getting it. They're successful. Things are happening for them. I want that same success, not realizing that, man, some of these people put in work. Everybody just don't have it to where they're favored and lucky to just have
Yep.
something fall in their lap overnight. 90 some percent of people probably grind into this. So when they're in those moments, or when you were in those moments, how did you persevere through those tough parts? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's something I seen Inky Johnson. You know who Inky Johnson is? He's
I
like a
do. Yeah.
motivational speaker. Yep. He said,
Yeah.
like, pretty much, I'm going to paraphrase, what kind of caliber a person is. I want to know what kind of caliber a person is when things are going bad, right? Because when things is going good, everything lit. Hey, it's good. I'm rolling everything, nonstop with it. 2020 to 2023. What do they call that? The pandemic. You know what I'm saying? Things is lit. But what
Mm-hmm.
happens when that, what I'm saying, isn't the
Hey, hold on.
reality
Wait, hold
every.
on. Hold on. Wait, real quick. You said the pandemic?
Yeah, they call it the pandemic.
Like you bands in that
Castle's
time?
Castle's making some capital, bro. A lot of
Wait,
capital was made.
bro, I ain't
A
never
lot
heard
of,
nobody call it that, dog. The
I'm
pandemic.
telling you, hey, there was a lot. Hey, real estate at its all time. The pandemic was popping, bro. Like it's COVID. You think things is tragic, right? And
Oh,
somehow the capital was the velocity of money was still rolling. So, but what do you do when that's not, a uh, constant a feeling or escape, right? It's not constantly, you're not getting that constant hit of success. I mean, you could sleep and sell this house. You could sleep and get this off and blah blah blah, right? And that's where that Inky Johnson thing comes up in my head because it really does attest to like what kind of person you are, right? Some things I get it. It's just not for you. It's not your speed. It's not sitting with your character, your spirit. I'll just leave that over here. Cool. But
right.
like everybody knows if they just kind of like I'm bitching out, or it's more of like you said, the graceful fallout, or for something that just doesn't align with my spirit, right? And
Right.
and only person that knows that is ourselves. And
Yeah.
so with that, it's like, are you the type of person, you the character to tough things out, or are you the character to learn from things, to excel in pressure times? No pressure, no diamonds, they say.
Yeah.
And it really is about, like you said, a lot of people are kind of favored. They have that blessed, lucky experience where they don't have to necessarily work for it, or it's almost given to them. Their parents did it, so they did do it. So I come from a background where it's starting with nothing, right? So for me, I almost can say that I'm blessed or I'm lucky in that aspect because it's nothing before for me, right? So
Yeah.
I've experienced a time before social media. So social media went away. I'm not about to, cripple. It's not going to cripple my life or my business. You know what I mean?
Right.
I come from a time before, uh, um, real estate was going crazy. I come from a time when real estate was at its worst. So for me, it's like I know what the bottom looks like. So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
really, I'm not afraid of it. People get in this situation where it comes down to fear, right? They're scared that they're gonna make a mistake. They're scared they're gonna lose it all. And I myself deal with this daily, bro. It's a daily battle through trauma, childhood trauma, where I feel that this can all go away tomorrow. I gotta make sure everything's good. The best advice I can give somebody is, if you find yourself quitting multiple things, there's something there. There's something back there. There's something internally that's causing you to give that up, to quit, and to quit
Wow.
and keep going to the next thing. So best thing that a person can do for themselves first and foremost is therapy.
Mm.
Therapy changed the game for me, right? It made me self-aware. I was already confident. I was already kind of persevering, had consistency and things like that. But therapy made me understand why I had it. Once
Yeah.
I understood the why behind it, it it gave me the ability to recognize and identify, like, oh, this is tough right here. This is going to be a difficult situation. How do I plan for it? How do I maneuver mentally, emotionally, get prepared for it? And usually when people are in the trenches, they're just not prepared for it. It's too much. It's too little, too much for too little. And so for
Hmm.
them, it's like, why am I even doing it?
No,
And you
for
have to
sure.
kind of have that internal dialogue, like, why am I doing this, right? Oh man, I'm doing this because this is going to set my family up. I'm doing this because this is going to help me get time freedom. I'm doing this, and as long as you kind of start stacking those affirmations, it's going to be like, okay, let me get back to work. I know why I'm
Mm.
doing this. But if you don't have that content, if you don't have that understanding of the why you're doing it, it's going to fall off. It's going to fall apart easy. So when you're in the trenches, you got to remind yourself constantly why you're doing it, who you're doing it for, where you plan on going when you finish that. You know what I'm saying? It's always having that ability to reshift out of the victim mentality, reshift
No,
out of the failure mentality. Because truthfully, I mean, when it comes to anything, no matter if you're into it or not, I mean, you don't lose until you fully just like give it up. So
wow.
it might not happen today, next week, a year from now, but if it's something I really want, it's gonna happen, and I'm gonna establish and create that reality
I like that, bro. I like what
by
you
any
just said,
means necessary. By any means
bro.
necessary. It has to be bro. It has to be a verbal commitment by any means necessary. Like if I'm on my last, I got. I mean, I might have a couch to sleep on somebody's spot if I fail everything. You know what I mean? If
Yeah,
you got to really understand, like failure is in death. We associate it with death all the like, oh, I'm gonna die if I fail, or I'm gonna look stupid or goofy online because I told everybody I was gonna do it. But
yeah.
you just have to have like an exceptional amount of delusion because it's only delusional to that it's not. You know what I mean?
Wait,
It,
hold up, cut up, fam, because you dropping nuggets
let me
that
get
I
some
don't think.
water real quick. Hold on, let me drink some water.
Yeah. You dropping nuggets that I don't think you know that you're dropping. So the first thing you said was it's not a loss till you give up. That so
Facts.
that sticks with me,
Right.
right? Because it's
It's
like,
simple. It's
bro,
simple,
yeah, it's
but
but
it's
see, I
profound.
never had that mentality. I'm like, if this doesn't work out, it's an L. It's an L that I'm gonna take and I'm gonna just move on. But that is, I've never heard that before. It's not a loss until you give up. That's the first thing. The second thing you said was you got to have a delusional mindset because it's delusional until it's not. Dang, bro. That
Because like,
so
think about how many times somebody told you probably came to them and said, "Hey, man, I'm about to get this house. I'm about to make this with this social media about to pop." And you might not have 100% believers. There's always some haters out there, right?
of
And they're
course,
like,
yeah,
"Bro, you tripping, bro. I know you. You ain't about to do no social medias." And next thing you know, it's not delusional anymore because it's reality. You
yeah.
created your reality.
And you know what he just said is to all the people that's out here dreaming big, it's okay to dream big because
Hey,
when you're given dreams, your dreams can dreams and manifestations kind of go a little hand in hand, right? It's like you're dreaming something, but you continue to dream that, then you're like, well, dang, is this just a dream or is this something that's really truly supposed to happen? And now you begin to get this vision about it, and when you get the vision about it, then you could be praying about it, but also get to a point where you're starting to put in the work to manifest that thing. And so
execution,
execution, bro. And that's the thing. It's like having that mindset will take you far, but also it'll help you through those bad times, which is what Aaron was saying. Because it's like, bro, when you go through the trenches, you may not have someone there to motivate you and encourage you. There may be haters out there that want to see you, that's preying on your downfall, that want to see you fail. You know what? A perfect
yes,
example would be like, you know what? I got this idea that I've been really thinking about. Should I do it? And then the other person says, nah, I don't think you should do that. That's not for you. I feel like you should find something different. Or, you're listening to those key words. And then it puts you in a position where you're thinking about like, well, dang, if he said that to me, that's somebody that I kind of value their opinion. Maybe I should be thinking in another direction. But it's like, no, bro. Like, if this is something you're dreaming, this is something you want, this is something you're thinking about, you have to have that delusional mindset. And that's wow. Wow,
bro.
bro.
Because think about a lot of people's success, bro. So there's like there's some folks that really don't have talent, really don't have the talent, but are
Yeah.
successful because everybody around them had the same delusion they had.
Yeah.
But here's like for example, Gucci Mane. He was popping in his good era. You know what I'm saying? In his 2008, 2005,
Yeah.
6, 7 era, right before he went to jail. And even when he came out, but his music wasn't really all that good. But his whole community was behind it. Everybody had
Yeah.
that same delusion, so everybody else was like, "That's reality." Now I believe it. Now look at him, a real estate tycoon, million to working on his billions. You know what I'm saying? Like you really, that's why I was saying you got to get the community around you, and it's tough too because I'm gonna be a person that tells you you might be solo for a while. It might be a little bit of time before you have those positive reinforcements. You know what I mean? You're in the trenches. Like not everybody wants to be in with you,
Yeah.
and
No,
so for
you know,
real.
no, for real,
And then,
bro. And
oh, go ahead, go ahead.
you know what? Another thing that I would say to piggyback off of what you were saying is that when you get into this stuff, again, I just talked about vision earlier. You got to have a vision, meaning that when you're out here trying to get out here and get it, and you got something that you kind of zoned in and locked in on, you gotta be thinking about, okay, what does this look like 4 or 5 steps ahead? You can't just look at something and be like, okay, I have a goal of by next month being in this position or in the next 6 months. No, you got to be thinking like years ahead with this. You have to be thinking you got to be really playing chess instead of checkers, because the reality is that if you do play chess and you are thinking 4 or 5 steps ahead, now you have something that's constantly challenging you, because you're like, okay, I achieved this goal. Now it's time to get to this goal. Now it's time. So you always have something that you're working at, which can help in those times where you are in your low points. And so you always got to be playing chess with this, bro. Thinking 5, 6 steps ahead. When we started doing our social media, I was like, man, what does this look like 5, 6 years from now? When I started doing
Yeah.
this podcast, I'm like, okay, what does this look like 3 or 4 years from now? What do I want to do with this podcast? Is it just I'm just going to be having guests on, or in 2 years, do I want to be taking this on the road? Do I want to be doing speaking engagements? So all that stuff is going through my mind. So when you're thinking about being
Mhm.
a hustler and a grinder, you got to constantly be thinking about 4 or 5 steps ahead. So my question to you is that, are you doing that with what you got going on?
Wow, man. So that's one of the tough ones, right? This is, I would say, this is controversial. Typically, like, my viewpoint is controversial. Typically, I would say this is a personality to personality type of strategy, right?
Okay.
So some people, it's about the MEMS, the most important next step, right? Some people, so that means like, what's next step? Let me not worry
Yeah.
too much crazy. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people they get going, and some people can handle all of that. It's
Right.
too overwhelming, right? So it just depends on the personality. For if you're that type of person, you know, like I don't, it's too overwhelming. Like I'm a soft starter, but you're a starter. So hey, get in the
Yeah.
game, get a play.
Yeah,
What's the
for
next
sure.
play? Next yard. You know what I mean? Get in the game. So
Yeah.
for some folks, it could be that just the most important next step, and then they develop what you're talking about, the ability to become an entrepreneurial mindset of like, okay, 4 or 5, 6 years down the line, I'm there, right? Like, what's the vision? I see it. I feel it. I taste it. For me, I'm kind of a mix, right?
Okay.
My problem, the reason I'm a mix and I have to keep myself to be in a mix is because I get that. Like, so for example, like a perfect example is with my brand, right? Anime Kills. I designed, 5 or 6 garments. Really, I
Okay.
had 15, but I designed 5 or 6 that I was like, okay, we need to get these on us and then produce them to get them out.
Yeah.
But as soon as I get those designs created, right, I love them. I rock with them, and then I'm like, oh, okay, let me jot this down. I come up with another design. Then I
Yeah.
get that design looking good and created. And then I'm like, oh, I need that now, though. I need it now. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's a 4, 5, 6 months down the way, but I need it now. I need that
Yeah.
now. So it's a tough thing for me to think too far down the line, because it causes that entrepreneur excitement. Like, whoo, it's about to go crazy. It's not even winter yet. I need that. You know what I mean? I'm about to rock this in the summer, and it's a winter fit. That type of thing. So for me, I have to sometimes chill it out, because then I can be getting too far away from like the goal or the intent, because I'm
Yeah.
focused too much on the further, right? So I do a hybrid with that, and that's simply because
But
I
it's
know my
a good
personality.
balance though.
Yeah, a
You make,
balance. It's a good balance. Some people
yeah.
like, hey, I need that 5 year plan.
Yeah.
I can't start it before I get the 5 year plan. They get the 5 year plan out, off to the races. Right? Some people like, I don't even know what the 5 year plan is. Let me get the 3 step. Let me get that 3 step action items. Punch list. So I would
No.
say, play with what works for you. You know what I
I
mean?
like
Like, it could be. It's no one size fits all in this game whatsoever. No
no
one
for sure.
size fits all.
I
There's
like
good practices. You know what I mean? Quality training. There's quality strategies, but just figure out what fits. You know what I'm saying? It works. And knowing it's just it doesn't work or it works, but knowing you're also just being resistant to this, like, oh, I just don't want to do it. Like, it's not something I enjoy doing. Like, people know when they cop it out
oh of
when it
course.
comes down
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah. No, that's good, bro. And the last thing I would say, number one, like you said, you got to start somewhere. Figure out where your character is, where you are. So if you're like me, you have a plan. If you're maybe like Aaron, you're a hybrid. Or if you're just one of those where, I'm just gonna start this thing and we just gonna go along, we're gonna go with the motions, go with the wind, see where the wind blows us to. That's cool too. But start and have some type of mentality to where I'm gonna start this thing, because here's the thing. Consistency is the name of the game, bro. And
Facts.
a lot of people ask me, they're like, what is the one thing that if you had to tell somebody that's trying to get started with anything, let alone social media, what would you tell them? I tell them, well, look, you got to look at it like this. If you keep knocking on that door, at some point that door is going to open. But if you stop knocking, the door will never open.
It's never gonna
Meaning,
happen.
yeah. So you have to have consistency. And I would also say, you know what? If it's a situation where you got to work a 9 to 5 just to like to get bills paid on top of you doing your thing on the side, then that's what you got to do. Me and Destiny did that for the longest. We were working our nine
I
to fives.
advise it.
Yeah.
I
And
actually
then when we
advise
got
it.
done, bro, when we got done, we was filming. We was batch filming on weekends. We would film after work. We would film before work. I mean, you got to do what you got to do. You know what I'm saying? And so I would say don't cold turkey it and just go right into it with not something in there. I would
Definitely don't.
no, no,
Hey,
don't
I
do
didn't even cold turkey once, bro. I kind of when I was working at Meta right last year, and
that. Yeah,
I got laid off from Meta the last round of layoffs, right? So I was like, oh, you know what I mean? Let me go ahead and start this and get going on the brand, on the clothing brand that
yeah,
I had open for a year now. I haven't done nothing with. When I tell you,
yeah,
like, those 6 7 months, like, you don't realize how much you can get achieved,
yeah,
truly get achieved. You're thinking like, oh, every day is gonna be like I'm working for myself and I'm
yeah.
gonna be executing things, but you don't realize too, like, there's gonna be a lot of dead space.
No, for
One
sure.
example, you design something, you have to wait for it to get produced. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? You could be working on other stuff, but it's not enough work to fill your time whatsoever. I guarantee it. So with me, that's one of the biggest regrets I had. I was like, I ain't gonna work again, right? And then 6 7 months, I'm like, okay, I'm loving it though, but I'm realizing too, like, I could still work, stack,
yeah,
and build this on the side, slash right next to it, what do you call that? Parallel to it, and still achieve the same thing, but have more money coming in actively. And that was one of my regrets. I didn't get another job until earlier this year, right? So it was like, man, I could have stacked up and did this. Man, I'm tripping, bro. I should have did it. But you live, you learn. So don't think like, oh, this is it. This is sweet. This is something sweet. I'm about to get in this, and I'm about to be hooping day one, starting. You know what I mean? Got the whole championship
look,
second game. Like, no, bro. It's a
it
development.
doesn't work like that. It's a for a lot of people. This is a grind, and it's gonna take time. And unless, like I said, unless you get lucky and you just get something to fall in your lap, you're going to have to put in work. You're going to have to grind. And at some point, you keep knocking on that door to open. But I would say, just in the meantime, continue to work your job, do your stuff on the side until it becomes to a point where you don't have to work anymore. And from there, you good. You know what I mean? But man, this was good, bro. Man, I appreciate you stopping by. This was a topic that I just really wanted to talk about because I think a lot of people are in a situation where, they just don't know where to go from here.
Mm-hmm.
And they got some things that they putting in the works, but it's the what's happening is not matching up to maybe the vision that they had. And so just having you on here to kind of give your insight, because you are the epitome of a grinder, is
I
truly
appreciate it, bro.
appreciated. Yeah, yeah. So make sure y'all are following us on IG at Flip That Switch Podcast. We post reels from the episodes on that. Also, if you can't watch us, you can listen to us wherever you get your podcast at Flip That Switch Podcast, whether it's Apple, Spotify. So we're also on there. But, bro, appreciate you. We got to have you on here again, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Hey, you mind if I leave them with one statement?
Yeah, go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
So
Hey,
Pete, this the longer you're willing to delay or push off the time horizon of a positive feedback loop, which is like what we're talking about. When you're hustling and grinding, it's not a lot of positive feedback during that time. It's just the trenches. You have to war through it, right? But the
for
longer
sure.
you're willing to push that time off, the crazier the success. So it's a game of wills and like you said, consistency. If you could push that off far enough to where it's like, okay, it's not gonna happen tomorrow, it's not gonna happen next month. What
Yeah.
does year 5 look like though?
Yeah.
Game changer.
Game changer, bro. That's enough to carry you through, my boy. But
Hey,
all right, man. Hey, appreciate you again, man. And we're gonna see y'all in the next episode. And we out. Peace.
all right, y'all.